Although it seemed hopeless, Dante led from the front, rallying us to hold the walls. I had to get to Dante and help him.
Whenever I try to convince a friend to try out VR, their immediate response is, cool, are there any Call of Duty games in VR? No? What about Grand Theft Auto? Which leads me to think that one of the major hurdles keeping people from buying a headset are the absence of new games in recognizable franchises, something you can only play in VR. Sure, we have Skyrim, Borderlands, and Resident Evil, but fans of those series can already play them without purchasing an expensive new peripheral. So when a game like Sniper Elite VR comes along, a name that everyone has at least heard of from a talented team like Rebellion, featuring an all-new campaign that's only available in VR, this is the kind of thing that can potentially sell headsets. My first experience with Sniper Elite VR was a year and a half ago at PAX East, where I got to play the first few minutes of the game on a PS4 Pro with an aim controller. And it was pretty much everything you'd want. Intense action, scripted explosions, and of course, lots and lots of sniping. Fast forward to last week when I played the first few levels of the game, and I shockingly didn't even want to keep playing. The graphics seemed pretty fuzzy, the art style and character models in general weren't particularly appealing, the voice actors sounded overly dramatic, and after just a couple minutes of action, I was brought to a mandatory shooting range for level 2, which put an immediate stop to any fun that I might have been having. It didn't help that each stage was presented as a memory and told through a flashback, making the entire experience feel a little disjointed, and the levels feel somewhat disconnected from each other. Luckily though, if you keep playing, you'll quickly find out that most of my initial concerns don't end up affecting the overall experience. Levels start getting much longer and far more interesting. There's quite a few collectibles that'll make you wander all over the map, even after you've killed every last Nazi in sight. And when you slow down and start enjoying being a silent, stealthy assassin, that's when Sniper Elite VR really hits its stride. I found myself role-playing as this Italian officer, creeping around each level, turning on generators, patiently waiting for planes to fly overhead or turret guns to fire, anything that would mask my gunfire, so I could take down each and every enemy without being noticed. In general, you don't have to do this, not more than once or twice, but if you're like me, you'll want to. The 18 missions here are pretty varied. Sometimes you'll be sitting in a sniper's nest, taking down wave after wave of oncoming enemies. Sometimes you'll have to make your way through an entire level, and sometimes you'll have one specific target you'll need to take down to complete your objective. But none of these levels would be any fun if the gameplay wasn't on point, and this opens up a whole can of worms that quite a few of you might not want to hear. With the aim controller, everything feels perfect. The image in the scope is rendered with plenty of detail, making targets easy to spot for the most part, and other than sacrificing manual reloads, it simply just works exactly the way you'd want it to. The DualShock 4 works in the exact same way, but holding the controller up to my face felt silly and pretty much ruined the immersion for me, making it my least favorite way to play. The Move controllers come in second place. However, they come with an extremely steep learning curve. The button layout will make you wonder if you're playing a Wolf and Wood game, with face buttons to walk you forwards and backwards. Then there's the fact that you have two hands, so gripping the rifle with your offhand means tapping the move button. Then ungripping it every time you need to reload means holding down, not tapping the move button again. It doesn't feel good, and in the midst of battle, it's really frustrating. Are there workarounds? Sure. You can turn off the manual reload so you literally never have to worry about it. But probably your best bet will just be to practice, because eventually it does all become second nature. But that process took hours for me, so be prepared. You've probably noticed the X-ray bullet cam throughout the course of this review, and I have to say that even though it seems like a gimmick at first, seeing all the different bones and organs you can destroy became a sadistic metagame where shooting out skulls, eyeballs, lungs, and testicles made me laugh far more than it should have. You can turn them off completely or increase the frequency, depending on how distracting you find them. Sometimes I'd spot 3 enemies down my sights and want to take them out one after another. Then the kill cam would pop up after the first and throw me off my game. But for the most part, the default setting felt right to me. Making my way through Sniper Elite VR with the aim controller was a lot of fun. I finished all 18 levels in about 7 hours on the default difficulty, and found it to be fairly easy, but there are plenty of leaderboards and multiple difficulties adding to the replayability. Sometimes I'd get tired of being stealthy, get totally reckless, pull out my SMG, run through the level and mow down a bunch of Nazis, and then take cover for a few seconds while my health regenerated, then do it all over again. Then other times, I played it super stealthy and only took down guards when I knew I wouldn't be noticed. And while you can get away playing however you want for a while, around the 15th stage, you might run into a roadblock where the game tells you that you don't have enough stars to continue. See, each level has 3 different objectives. Sometimes it's to finish in under 10 minutes, or complete a level without being seen, or take down a certain number of enemies with a particular weapon. So at a certain point, you might have to press pause on your campaign progress, and head back into some earlier missions to achieve all 3 stars. And this could trip you up for a few hours. The Sniper Elite VR doesn't get off to a great start, and even when things get going, it doesn't have the level of polish you'd expect from a Rebellion game, which makes sense considering it was developed by indie studio Just Add Water. Luckily though, about an hour in it stops feeling like a VR sniper experience, and starts feeling like an actual game with some sprawling stages and some really great level design. Ultimately, Sniper Elite VR might not convince your friend to try VR, but for all of us who already own a headset, there's a full campaign here that really delivers.